Mr. Sharma, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
So what really pushed you to coming forward with this legislation or these legislations?
A lot of really upsetting stories from people from different religions, faith leaders, whether it's Gurdwaras, whether it was synagogues, mosques, Mandirs, of incidents happening at their places of worship. So that are stopping people from coming in, that are intimidating people and harassing them. And we really just felt that there are places in our society that need some kind of protection. Everybody has a right to pray where they want to without that kind of harassment. So we introduced this legislation to do that. Similarly, in schools, schools, we want our kids to be able to go there safely and teachers to be able to go there safely without some of the protests that we were seeing that were blocking access. So it's just a matter of protecting people in really important places from intimidation, harassment, and things that are blocking it. We also heard incidents of hate that were happening at mosques and synagogues and Gurdwaras, where people were coming to very specifically to say hateful things to people that were going to pray. So this is just a way to protect that.
So which was really the trigger? Was it the 2024 violent protests or protests that could have been violent in Metro Vancouver area outside a mandir and then a Gurdwara, or the recent attacks at synagogues in Ontario? Which was really the trigger point for the government? Because there were Soji protests as well, which were quite... people argue that it was an excited bunch that was protesting against Soji regulations. But it has taken 2 years for your government to actually introduce a legislation like this. So what was really the trigger point?
Yeah, so the school legislation has been in place for a while. We've had it for a couple of years. We're renewing it. So that's that bill, just to make sure our students can go to school without being harassed by people. It's not really a place to protest when kids are just there to learn. And if you want to do it, take it across the street, right? So you can have your freedom of expression, but it doesn't stop people. The place of worship one is new, and really it was many things. It was the examples that you gave. It's the threats that we've been hearing. It's instances of hate. And we just thought it was an important thing to go along with what the federal government is doing. So we wanted to see what they were going to do first with their criminal code. So they've been updating their criminal code offenses to make it criminal offense if you go and harass somebody from entering certain places. And this is a way to put kind of like a blanket, a sanctuary over places of worship, so people can go and know that they're protected.
Minister, civil society groups are concerned that this might result in throttling protests altogether, because this would give authority to places of worship, at least, to post alerts or boards prohibiting any kind of gathering. Aren't you concerned?
Yeah, there are certain things that we said are not true. We also have to balance balance like people's rights. So if you're going to do a peaceful protest, that's fine. If you're going to do something that's intimidating, harassing, or blocking people, what we're saying is there's a safe zone around every place of worship that's 20 meters around their property line. So basically across the street. So if there is something that you are protesting and everybody has the freedom to protest, you have to do it away so people can access that place of worship without being blocked. And it includes like loudspeakers and things like that. That's not allowed, intimidating or harassing people that way. So it's a way to balance those two. So you can still say that people can express themselves. They just also have to provide safe access for people to pray.
Minister, there's a larger question here, because we have been seeing protests happening in this country for quite some time now, at least for the last 3-4 years, on various pretexts. We've seen Palestinians come forward and protest, or people supporting the Palestinian cause protest. Now we have an ongoing conflict in Iran, and we might very well see protests over here as well. So should we understand that governments, at least our provincial government, is now increasingly concerned that many of these protests are coming from overseas, and therefore more bans or more prohibitions like this might come into place in the days going forward?
Not at all. Like, I think that there's something about very much about protecting people's right in a free and democratic society to express their perspectives, to protest against governments, to express their views on what's happening. And I think that that is absolutely part of our society and why it works so well. We are not going to step in to stop that. Also, there are certain places like schools and churches and Gurdwaras and mosques and where we want to make sure that people have access without this type of intimidation, sometimes hate speech or threats. So it's just about protecting certain places, but not stopping people's freedom of expression. I think it strikes a good balance. And we don't intend on ever stepping in to say people in British Columbia don't have the right to protest. It's one of our protected rights.
Minister, my final question on this, because it can also get tied to the public safety issue in our province. So is it going to result in more law enforcement powers? Because a ban like this will probably need some kind of support from the law enforcement agencies.
Yeah, do you know what we found when we did the school one a couple of years ago is that it really just stopped people from doing it because they knew that the schools could just talk to the RCP officers. If anybody was planning a protest, they would just say, look, you can't do it here. You can do it across the street over there, but you can't do it on the school. And actually, we just saw a big drop in the number because it was just very clear where the access zone is and where it isn't. So I think that'll happen with places of worship. Once the law is clear and in place, people will just know that letting people access the Gurdwara, letting people access the Mandir is part of the rules. And if you want to protest across the street, 20 meters away, we think that'll drop tensions. And just be very clear to people. So in terms of the number of resources, I think it'll just actually stop some of the worst incidents that we've seen which have required more resources.
Minister, I only had 7 minutes. I think I have exhausted them, but thank you so much for making time for us this morning. I think I utilized it very well.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Have a great day.